So Mona, you are, as I said, in between. You are on the other side of the world, and it's quite early in the morning. Here it's really rainy in Zurich. So um, tell the audience where you are and how we could imagine your surroundings at the moment.
Sure. Thank you first for having me, and thank you, Eva, for the fantastic introduction to effectuation. I was nodding the whole time. I thought, like, fantastic. Finally, I have words to describe how I felt on my way to build the Mosan social enterprise. So where I'm at the moment is I'm in a small town called Panajachel at Lake Atitlan, which is quite a big lake in Central America, in Guatemala, where we, in one of the Mayan villages, there's 12 villages surrounding the lake. And in one of those villages, we started to implement our circular sanitation solution. And I was just thinking of, like, because often the question comes, why there? And I think it's part of my effectuation pathway. I was, in 2017, I was invited as a teacher, because I'm also a teacher in ZHdK, as a guest lecturer in different other universities and departments. And in 2017, I was invited from a local university and MIT from the US to be part of a design summit that happened here at Lake Atitlan. And that got me to learn about the missing or the lack of sanitation and the opportunities that are here. And I was already working on Mosan, so it was just this perfect coincidence that allowed me to find my space. And that's where I am today. And it's quite early, not so early anymore. It's almost 6 a.m. That's why I would love to show you the tropical garden that surrounds me and the banana trees, but it's still pitch black outside. So you just get to hear the rooster.
Well, that sounds quite amazing that you are quite, somehow in the middle of a jungle. Maybe I know a bit, of course, about what you are doing, what your company is doing, and a bit also where it started. But maybe you can just like bring everybody in as well.
Of course. What I will do is I will share some slides so I can take you on that journey. Do you see a Mosan starting slide? Okay, perfect. So basically what we do with Mosan is that we are battling the extreme consequences from the lack of sanitation. And some who might not have heard of this yet, it's actually a problem that affects more than half of the world population. And this is extreme if you think, like, everyone has heard of Corona, but most people don't know how that actually a much bigger crisis that we have is sanitation, which means there's disease spreading, there's high mortality rates, especially among children, because the water sources they have are contaminated because there is no proper sanitation, meaning there's no proper toilets, there's no proper management of the waste. Like in communities like here, Santa Catarina, Palopó is where we work, and we have our first office here in Guatemala. Is they actually, many families have water flush toilets because that's just what is promoted and that's what people think is the only way to sanitation. But then you need to imagine that there is not even enough water, even though you have the lake, but it's not affordable to pump up water the hill so that everyone can flush their toilet. Also, it wouldn't be sustainable. So people have like once to twice a week water coming out of their tap, and they store it in buckets. So you can imagine a conventional water flush sanitation system like we have it in Europe just doesn't work. The infrastructure is not there, the resources are not there. The infrastructure, like the treatment plants where the water is afterwards filtered, doesn't have the capacity. So that means that most of the wastewater goes straight to the lake. And that's not just this specific community, it's actually all the communities around, even the small town where I live and all the hotels are, and it's quite touristic and beautiful, as you can see. There's no proper sanitation. So it's a global crisis, and I have been aware of that challenge already, a long time ago when I started my journey as an industrial design student during an internship in Bangladesh. And that's another one of those coincidences that led me on this life path, because by now, 10 years later, from the first time I was, I got familiar with the topic. I still find myself, I have actually a quick impression on how it started when I was 20.
So may I ask, Mona, so when you realized in Bangladesh that there is a big problem here, and you found out, or you decided for yourself that you would like to contribute something, that you want to do something about it, right? Have you, from this moment to the moment you had your you enveloped your toilet, because this is kind of the first step, right, of your company? How, I mean, was it clear that this is probably the solution?
So no, nothing was clear. It wasn't, I didn't even know where Bangladesh is, to be very honest. And I don't feel ashamed to say that, but when I heard there's a position to do an internship in a country called Bangladesh, I had to look it up. Where is that exactly? Somewhere Asia, somewhere. So I didn't know anything, and nothing was clear. What is my task there? And it was also not clear, I got familiar, of course, with the challenge of lack of sanitation. That was the part of the internship, to work in those projects with GIZ, but it was not clear how to solve it. I didn't have the task, design a toilet. The challenge was, and I think in that moment I was lucky, so I had this lucky coincidence and I welcomed it. The project director from GIZ in Bangladesh, he was an architect, and he had a similar mindset and way of thinking. He was like, we need someone who thinks out of the box, but has creative skills, but technical skills to help us work in sanitation. So I was already working in the sanitation space, but I didn't know I was gonna develop a circular sanitation system for communities. So in the beginning, yes, one of the first observations as learning about those flooded slums and those very densely populated, low-income settlements, one of the first ideas, of course, as an industrial designer is like, okay, people don't have a toilet. That's where it starts. That's where the waste is created in their house, or they just have a hole in the ground and it drops into the river or onto the ground. So we need to start there. So I looked on like, yes, I'm an industrial designer. I know how to design products. I know how to work with people, because that was always my passion, to become a designer in the first place. So basically what you described, and like I checked on what means do I have and how can I make use of them to contribute to a potential solution, but I didn't know what the solution would be. So it bounced between like, we need a system that manages, but we need the hardware. And in the beginning, it's quite complex sanitation. So I decided let's start where I can start, and that's the design of this object. And over the years, actually, is when the whole business model, the system and the ecosystem, literally, of the whole sanitation solution was created. Because as some of you might guess, the toilet alone doesn't provide safe sanitation. It's the interface that you use, where you sit on, that you use every day, but there's a massive system behind: pipes, water, the recycling or the treatment of the water, what happens with it afterwards. In places where we work now, like here in Guatemala, of course, there's a lot that we have to do in education and awareness raising, to at all, raise awareness. Why is this a challenge? Why are their children sick? How is sanitation related to their health? So all of this systemic thinking and working is what came over the years, and I found it quite interesting now, having this opportunity to reflect about effectuation on how all the elements and pieces came together over the years. Because I think I'm a very positive thinker, and I think that's, for me, my main recommendation that I always give also our students, to actively take on mindsets of positivity, to welcome, what we say in design, like fail, but fail early, learn from it and get up again. So these are actually things that you can actively practice as well. And I think they are a key part of the effectuation method, that you have these, and you mentioned it, that you have the right mindsets to deal with uncertainty, to deal with yeah, with failures, and everything
I'm
fails all the time.
I'm jumping quickly in due to the time. Mona, as you already have said that, I mean, we just like realized, I mean, it was at the beginning, it wasn't clear the goal was, so the goal wasn't clear at the beginning, but I'm sure there were different steps in your journey, and there still are, where you're not sure what's next step to take, right? So this question comes again and again and again. A second question I would like to ask you is, partnerships, talking about partnerships in a different way, not about an exchange relationship, but more on really just like letting somebody in, invite somebody to be a co-creator, because you will need companions on a way. You can't do it on your own, never, ever. So how was it for you to find the partnerships you have right now?
Yeah, this is a good question. So I think I'm a very self-reflective person, and in on my pathway, of course, I would always reflect on like, what are the skills I don't have? And in the beginning, as an entrepreneur, you're very idealistic and you want to do everything yourself, and you try to become good in finance and everything, but you quickly realize, okay, I can't be the expert in everything. So knowing where I lack skills or where I lack expertise, and then, yeah, with that awareness and a hint of coincidences, I would actually, yeah, meet the right people, because I would recognize once I would meet people. And maybe one other aspect that is quite important, I think, or was important on my pathway, I'm very passionate about inspiring people. So maybe also why I like to teach and why I love to give speeches and talk, because I love to tell stories and take people on this journey and share my adventures, and I get quite excited, and I can talk forever, as you already noticed. So inspiring people on my pathway, but then also knowing where I have not the skills, and yeah, being open to let people in who get excited because they got inspired by my story, and they're like, wow, this is amazing, I know this and that, or hey, I'm in finance, do you need someone for that? And if there was a match and a good feeling, and my intuition felt like, hey, this person sounds excited and is cool, and I like the vibe, let's try it out. And that way of I actually only once wrote a job offer online, and we are a team now of 10 people. And this is how our team was grown, because then another team member says like, hey, I know someone, I worked with that person, the person's really cool, we got along in the past, you know, can we onboard that person? Of course, you get along with that person, that's the perfect start for a great team. Get that person in, what are the skills? So really being open to that, and knowing, yeah, where I don't have the skills.
Then let's come to, yeah, like what I would like to give you with on the way, and I would like to ask Mona as well, is really, so my perspective on Effecting is really that it has a certain magic in it, and I think magic is something we all need from time to time. But also it's more about this thing that you can really, you start on a green field or on a green lawn, and you start with your own motivation. You start with what you want to, what you would like to change, where you want to make a difference, and you start with your subject. And this is really something very self-empowerment. It's, Mona already said it also, yeah, it's about positive psychology. It's about, I already have a lot of resources. That's what you make really conscious for yourself, and for others maybe too, but probably, but mainly for yourself. So your toolbox is already filled, even if your goal is not clear at the moment. And it starts with your strengths and competences and your as I said, as your resources. And what I like about it is that it includes or needs or invites to creativity. That is self-empowered, I already said it, but that you can really do it, just like use it for a lot of different fields. If you're looking for a new partner because you don't want to be a single anymore, you can also try to look at it from an effectuative perspective, or you can look at it from a managerial thinking perspective, even though the romanciers in the audience wouldn't like that. But or if you look for a new apartment, you don't have to use it for an entrepreneurial setting, really, in the two means of creating an entrepreneur. and a company and startup. But maybe Mona, would you like to say also something, and then we will hand over to Elian.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I also find it quite enlightening to have words for this, to have a methodology now that describes it all. I believe it can really help you to just get started, which a lot of people always describe as a struggle. I don't know where to start. I would like to do something. At least I often get that question, how did you get started? And I think knowing that just start with what you have is fantastic to everything you just mentioned, business, partnership, and so on. Another aspect that I quite like is, I think I see also quite some similarities on how we teach design thinking. You're open to explore things. You go on this journey, and I believe in the times we're in, you said it in the beginning, COVID, one crisis is hitting the next one. No one knows what is coming anyways. So I do think in everyday life, we need that way of thinking, that mindset, that openness, that willingness to explore, but also to fail, but then, find the partners, find the means to get up again. I think that's like the most important. I think I come to the conclusion that effectuation is one of the most important skills. We need to be resilient in these times and to prepare ourselves for the future.